Avast, you scurvy dogs. This is Maroon the Shantyman from the Bilge Pumps, and you're listening to Under the Crossbones. So you better just sit down and enjoy yourselves, savvy?
Turn it up, swashbucklers! You're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 53. My name is Phil Johnson. I'm your host for the show. Thank you again for tuning in. Episode number 53, a little fun fact about the number 53. It's the racing number of Herbie the Love Bug. Remember that movie? I watched that movie 1,000 times when I was a kid. And sometimes you'll see like somebody made their own Herbie, and that's the number on the side, 53. Also, in How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Grinch says he's put up with the Who's Christmas cheer for 53 years, which is amazing because the Who's don't look that old, really. They must age well. Anyway, my guest on the show today is Craig Lutke from the Bilge Pumps. Yeah, talking pirate music today, and it's going to be a good one. Fun interview. Stay tuned for that. I'm doing this show a little bit earlier than usual. Usually I record this stuff on Mondays, and then you get it on Tuesday. That's how the thing works. Today, it's Friday today, and I'm doing it because I am on stage every night for the next 7 days, starting tomorrow. And my schedule is crazy. Monday is a travel day, so I'm going to be driving to Burbank, and then getting on stage and doing a show. So schedule is mighty crazy all week, and I'm doing this a little bit early. So it's going to be fun. I'll have to tell you next time how the shows this weekend go. I'm going to assume they went awesome, because most of the time they do. They do pretty good. But I did go see Guns N' Roses earlier this week. Saw them at AT&T Park, the big baseball stadium in San Francisco, and the show was fantastic. I watched a few clips online, while they've been doing the tour, and I didn't want to watch too much because I didn't want to spoil any surprises. And but I listened to just enough to know that I had made a good investment, and this is going to be a solid show. Not only were there okay, they were really good. I missed them back in the day. I never saw them live in the previous incarnation. But here's the thing. I saw a lot of videos. The Live at the Ritz is one of my favorite concert films of all time. If you haven't seen Guns N' Roses Live at the Ritz, it is a masterpiece of sleazy 80s rock. It's fantastic. But I've seen I saw their 92 stuff, all that kind of thing. They did exactly the same show that they did in 92. Now, it was amazing. They sounded fantastic. Axl's voice is back in shape like where it was years and years ago. But the show was pretty much the same. It was like, okay, we're going to do the call and response on Knocking on Heaven's Door, and Duff is going to sing Attitude, and we're going to close with Paradise City. And so pretty much with the exception of them jamming 3 songs from Chinese Democracy into the show, it was pretty much the same show you would have seen in 92. So maybe if they keep going with this, they have hinted at working on new material, maybe the show will change up. But it was really fun. We sat in the very last row. It was quite a hike up to our seats in the third deck of AT&T Park, and we were probably about a good half mile from the stage, and so a good thing they had video screens because that was pretty much all we could see. The musicians themselves looked like tiny ants on the stage, and next time going to spend a little more on the tickets and get some better seats. But regardless, it was a good time. It was a lot of fun. They did a full 2.5 hours, I think. And the Struts opened, which was fantastic because I'd been wanting to see them. If you haven't checked out the Struts yet and you dig rock music, go check out the Struts. It's fun. They're really tight, good band. They were playing at 6:30. It was still daylight out, and most of the people hadn't arrived yet. So, man, daytime stadium rock is a tough gig. That is not easy, and they pulled it off. They did good. I was happy for them. It was all good stuff. As you may have heard in the last episode, I broke my guitar. My beloved Greg Bennett acoustic guitar was broken, and it's still partially usable, but probably not for long. It's not going to stay in tune well and things like that. So I've been guitar shopping all week, and I ended up getting myself a Taylor 214 CE Deluxe, which I've always wanted a Taylor. It's not the 814 or one of the Grand Symphony models or something like that. Those run like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. I had about $1,000 to spend on this one, which is what I got this one out the door for. I got a deal. The deluxe is usually about $1,200, and I managed to get it for $950. Not bad. Came with a hard case and everything, so it sounds real nice. The other one I was looking at was an Epiphone Master-built DR500 MCE, and they sound. Here's the problem was they sound completely different. That was my dilemma, and I kind of wanted something that sounded like my Greg Bennett. Which has a nice, clean, but a deep kind of sound to it. And I wanted something that sounded similar. I ended up, neither one of these guitars sound similar, but also sounding completely different. So I had to decide. They were both great, both within my price range. So I ended up going with the Taylor, the 214 CE, and I might also get the Epiphone. Here's the thing: when you play guitar, you can never have enough guitars. It's like my girlfriend and shoes; she's the same way, but. And purses. Oof, what a collection. But you can never have enough guitars. So I did find a good deal on the Epiphone Master-built, and I think I might buy that one too. But I'm gonna wait like a week or so until I get back from the Burbank Festival, and I'll decide then. So anyway, if you want to help me pay for these guitars, there's actually, you probably, it doesn't even cost you anything. My last 2 comedy specials are both on Amazon Video Direct now. They just went up. They're available worldwide. And if you don't know what Video Direct is, it's like Amazon's version of Netflix, right? If you're a Prime member, you can watch all this stuff for free, including my 2 specials, Pretty from the Back, and the other one called Be Yourself Unless You're an Idiot. So those are both on there now. If you're not a Prime member, you can rent it for 7 days for like $1.99, or if you want to buy it and download it forever and ever and ever to keep, it's $7.99. So they're super cheap. If you've wanted to check out any of my specials, that is a cheap way to do it. If you're, like I said, if you're a Prime member, it doesn't even cost you anything. I still get paid though. Don't worry, I still make a little bit of money, tiny bit of money. But they kick me down some dough for the freebie hunters out there. It's all good. Super busy week. I am headed out for the Burbank Comedy Festival, which starts the day before you're listening to this on Monday. But August the 16th, I'll be there at the Burbank Comedy Fest and Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank, California. August the 17th, I'll be at the Ice House in Pasadena, California. August the 18th, back at Flappers for one more show at the Burbank Festival. August the 23rd, O'Malley's Pub in Mountain View, California. The 25th, I'll be at the Blue Lagoon in Santa Cruz, California. One of my regular haunts. I like working out new material there. August the 26th, I will be at the Lucky Penny Community Performing Arts Center in Napa, California, and featuring for the always amazing Lori Kilmartin that night. The 27th, I'll be hitting up Spice Monkey in Oakland, California. That's a place I like to work out a lot. And then August 29th through September the 3rd, I will be at the World Series of Comedy in Las Vegas. And you can catch me on the 30th is my first show, the 30th at the 7 p.m. show. And if I do well there, then you'll catch me later in the week in the semifinals and the finals. Always a fun event. If you're anywhere near Vegas, definitely check out the World Series of Comedy. That's a very West Coast-centric set of dates this month, but I got stuff coming up. Washington, Oregon, Florida, Illinois, Wisconsin. It's all coming up. Go to underthecrossbones.com and click the tour dates button, and you can see everywhere where I'm going to be near you. And if I'm not near you, call your local club. Tell me you want to see me. That's better than when I call them. It's way more effective. If you're enjoying the show, and I hope you are, join us on Facebook. We're at facebook.com/underthecrossbones, twitter.com/undercrossbones, no the. And, of course, you can get all the show notes for this episode at underthecrossbones.com/053. Also, make sure that you are subscribed in iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play or wherever you like to get podcasts. Subscribing gets all the new episodes downloaded right to your device without even having to think about it. And the less things we have to think about, the better. If you want to help out the show a little bit, there's a support page. Go to underthecrossbones.com/support. You can drop a little donation in the PayPal box there, whatever you feel is appropriate. There's an Amazon banner there. If you click on that Amazon banner and you buy yourself something nice, like maybe a download of my comedy special, Pretty from the Back, or say an above ground pool, or a tractor, or a set of golf clubs, buy yourself something nice, and Amazon kicks me back a little bit of dough. And that helps the show. It doesn't change your price at all anyway, so it's no cost to you to do that. And if you want to be a sponsor of the show, if you have a product or a service that you think a piratey audience would enjoy, you can be a sponsor of the show. It's very cheap. It's very easy. Hit me up at phil@underthecrossbones.com, and we'll hook you up. All right? So like I said, my guest today is Craig Lutke of the Bilge Pumps, one of the well-known pirate bands in the scene, and they're down in Texas. And we have a great talk about pirate music and how pirate music as a business seems to be a thing, which most people would not think about. It's probably obvious to you listening to it because you have seen pirate bands. But to many other people, that is not a logical choice of a career ever. And as you'll hear Craig talk about, it became a logical choice for him. And so we talk a lot about the challenges of pirate music, the things that it makes easier, and just being part of that scene. It's a really great talk. I think you're going to enjoy it. And of course, you can find them at thebilgepumps.com. All right, let's get into my interview with Craig Lutke of the Bilge Pumps. Check it out. You are in the Bilge Pumps. What position do you play in the Bilge Pumps? What's your instrument?
When it comes down to instrumentation, I started off being a vocalist only. Mm-hmm. Whenever I put the band together, it was just more singer than the occasional guitar player. But as people started peeling off and we started cycling through members, it became necessary for me to pick up other instruments to just short term, and then it ended up becoming long term. So at the moment, I play hand drums like a doumbek and a Brazilian tauntaun.
Great.
And then I also play bass guitar, steel drum, didgeridoo, and whatever other type of insanity might pop up. Little small instruments.
Nice. Okay, so I want to dive into a little bit of that, but tell me how the group started. Where did it come from? How did you get it together?
It initially started from the remnants of an old Scottish Highland Games troupe called the Scottish Caledonian Gamers.
Okay.
We, we'd get up there and do our usual shtick of flipping cabers and throwing weights and hay bales and whatnot. But as part of our little intro, we were kind of a very comedy-based type show. And part of our intro, when we come walking in, we'd all walk in with a caber thrown over our shoulder doing a bunch of homages to the movie Cadence. I don't know if you remember that, the Larry Fishburne movie where they're all like walking around going, hoo, ha, 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 hoo, and all start singing in cadence together.
Uh-huh.
We'd all come in doing, versions of doo-wah diddy, like from Stripes and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then it slowly evolved to where we were doing stuff like the Sheep Shag Strut instead of the Stray Cat Strut and Hotel Caledonia. And it got to the point where we're even some of our shows out in lonely West Texas, we'd jump up on stage and do like impromptu songs where we had like an entire songbook full of these filked Scottish versions of rock songs.
Okay.
And when that Highland Games troupe finally kind of came to its end, I kind of took the next logical step and grabbed the guys that were singing with me, and we started up a pirate band. And I invited some other people that had been with us at a medieval fair called Hawkwood, which is up here in North Texas, that lasted from 96 to 2001. And then somewhere around 98, 99, to kill time between some of the shows we were doing, we'd all just walk around the lane singing these various songs. And as it happened to be, most of the songs people knew were pirate versions, because when you're going to do sing-alongs, you tend to do shanties that people can catch very easily and just sing the chorus to.
Sure.
And so some of the people that were doing that with me, I kind of roped them in because they seemed to have some skill. And next thing you know, we had a pirate band. And our very first paid gig we ever did was Mardi Gras Galveston, which at the time pulled in like 200,000 people over its weekend. So we got very much thrown to the wolves, so to speak. In fact, we had they asked us to do a 2-hour show, and we had about 90 minutes worth of material. So we had to do a lot of stopping and throwing beats to the crowds and whatnot, killing some time in between, which actually turned out, we found out our very first gig that when you throw stuff to the audience, it tends to draw an audience. So
yes, it does. Yes. I've been in that situation myself where you're like, well, I don't have that much material, but we're going to find out how much I can make it up on the spot. Yeah.
Some storytelling now.
So now I have to ask, so after the Celtic stuff and you're throwing telephone poles and what all, why exactly was a pirate band the next logical choice?
Well, like I said, because a lot of us already knew these various versions of sea shanties around.
Okay.
There was another local pirate band in Dallas-Fort Worth called the Corsairs. It was like an all a cappella group, and a lot of people knew them and had been to a lot of their shows and had picked up some of the songs just through some of their, performances. So they all at least knew a variation of these tunes, and because they were simple to pick up. We actually got the name the Bilge Pumps, ironically, before we ever were a true band that we got together, because somebody had, well, we were the festival out of Hawkwood took place in August and September in Texas, which is in itself a small version of insanity, because it was always 103, 105 outside.
Right.
And even when we're under the forest in the shade, it was still hot. And there was one day during the end of the last year, or the end of '98, I guess it was, the power went out in the festival. And there was an ice cream shop that was just in dire straits because of that, because they had to just sell as much as they possibly could, because they were melting fast.
Right.
So a bunch of us had got wind of it, and we just walked over there and stood in front of their shop and started singing and letting everybody know, hey, you get ice cream over here, and while you're here, we'll just keep singing to you. And after, the guy ended up selling almost everything that he had because of that, which we ended up, saving him, because I don't think the power even came back on the rest of that day. And he came over to us. He's like, what are you guys going to call yourselves? What do you guys call yourselves? I'm like, we don't have a name. We're just a bunch of people. He's like, you should call yourselves the Bilge Pumps, just as a joke off to the side. We're like, yeah, we suck. Bilge Pumps suck. We get it. Whenever we got together to actually put the band in, everybody started chiming out names, and somebody's like, well, why don't we just do the Bilge Pumps? That's what we've already been kind of called. And we're like, yeah, you know what? We'll go with the Bilge Pumps, because we thought it was a nice tongue-in-cheek, because Bilge Pumps suck and blow at the same time. If you really, we did our first gig down in Dickens on the Strand, which is right next to where the tall ship Alyssa makes birth down there.
Uh-huh.
And some of the volunteers that spend a lot of time doing tall ships and whatnot came up to us, and they asked us what our name was. We're like the Bilge Pumps, and they got this very solemn expression on their face. Usually people just chuckle a little bit. Oh, that's kind of funny. And they went, that is the most important part of the entire ship. It's a very good name. We're like, yes, because that's what we were going for. The most important part of the ship.
The sails have nothing to do with the ship. It's Bilge Pumps that are really the important part.
Keep you afloat. If it wasn't for us, you'd all be dead.
That's great. And so how many people are in the band currently?
There are 6 of us at the moment. 6.
It sounds like it's a shifting thing over the years.
We've stayed more between 5 and 6 over the years, but at the moment we are probably outnumbered by our ex-members at about a 2-to-1 ratio.
I understand that completely. Yeah, I have
West Side Story style throwdown. They're going to take us out.
Right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my ex-band members completely outnumber my band at this point too, and I have a fairly large band at this point. That's great. And so one of the things that is really sort of the hallmark about what you guys do is that you are not afraid of putting in modern references.
No.
Because I was, like you were saying earlier, and plus I was looking at some of your videos, and there's Stand By Me and the Banana Boat song and things like that. Was that always sort of a natural part of it to you guys from the beginning?
Well, we don't do a lot of like modern songs, so to speak, because a lot of the festivals we go to don't really want that. They want to maintain the illusion. But when we go and do bar gigs and we do like Mardi Gras or something like that, there's only so much illusion you're going to get when you're standing on a stage surrounded by a Budweiser sign. So we'll just kind of go for the things that are roughly nautical. Though you mentioned the Banana Boat song. Actually, that song was written around the 1600s.
Oh, okay, so that makes sense then.
You just happen to know the Harry Belafonte version that people know from the 50s, but yeah, that was an old work song from the slaver days.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I guess I should have known that. That's cool. So how often do you guys gig?
Roughly 20 days a year, 20 to 25.
That's great.
We used to do a lot more, but we all have kids and we're getting older and we got stuff to do now, so we don't just go hunting down these little 1 and 2 day festivals as much anymore. We have kind of refined it to where we know the shows we want to go do, and if one pops up that we think is just awesome, we'll go do that. But otherwise, we go with the ones that we know are tried and true.
That makes sense. Yeah, it was the reason I was asking earlier about what made you think that a pirate band was the next logical choice is that in this world, in this subculture, that is the only place where that is a decision that makes sense. No, I don't think anybody elsewhere would go, you know what the next logical choice is starting a pirate band. But the flip side of that is that, you guys get to work a whole bunch more than any average band who, especially on a local level or anything, is usually restricted to playing once or twice a month in their local area, and then may do 3 or 4 shows a month if they travel. So I think that's a really sort of counterintuitive aspect of what you guys do, and pirate bands in general.
And we like to laugh that we've pared ourselves down to about the nichiest of niche music. You have folk music, and then within folk music there's Celtic, and within Celtic there's nautical, and within nautical you've got sea shanty type thing, and then within that you've got pirate music. So we're like this, this finely tuned onion layer that smells exactly how it sounds.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's got to be a whole bunch easier to actually make a go of it when it's that niche down. And that's what they always say in the music marketing circles anyways. If you can find that particular audience that really gets what you do, then you don't necessarily need a lot of them, and the work will be there to greet you. There's a band here in San Jose. They are an Irish pirate rock band, so even one more level of niche down.
Irish pirate rock.
Yeah, they're called O'Craven. Good guys.
I don't know them personally, but I know of them.
Yeah. We happen to live in the same town here in San Jose. So, where did you come from before all of this? Were you a pirate guy? Were you a musician? How did you enter that realm?
The musician thing has just kind of grown on me. I haven't really wasn't really intending to be a musician. I was going to try to be more of a vocalist and a lyricist.
Okay. And
then I had to get more into the music side of it back in, I guess it was 2014, not too long ago. We only had one guitarist at the time, and he wasn't going to be able to make this trip we were doing out to the West Coast. We were performing at the San Diego Sea Shanty Festival there on the Star of India. And our guitarist wasn't going to be able to make it, so I had to learn guitar very quickly in about a 3-month span. And I had a friend of mine at work that would sit down, and he'd willing to do guitar lessons for lunch.
Uh-huh.
We'd sit down at the lunch hour, and I would handpick like these 15 songs. I'm like, I need to learn these. That's all I care about. Figure these out. So I learned those well enough to slog through a 3-day weekend in San Diego. And then since then, I kind of kept up the lessons with him on bass guitar and whatnot. So I've branched out into some of that musical theory required to write songs. So, in fact, our next album is going to have a lot more original tunes on it than we normally do.
Okay. What's the percentage now, basically, between original and cover stuff?
I would say we probably have maybe 2 original songs per album is the way we've been doing. And then everything else is really old cover stuff, like 1300s to 1600s cover stuff.
Right, yeah. Not the top 40 you'll see at the bar on the weekend, yeah. And so when you were coming in as a lyricist and a vocalist, what was the plan there, and how did that change?
Shouting along in the car with Alice in Chains and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's ironic that I ended up teaching harmonies. Used Alice in Chains to teach harmonies to some of our younger members back in the days because they couldn't really get the grasp of how to sing on a slightly different melody than what everybody else was doing.
Uh-huh.
I made them sit and listen to how the 2 vocalists from Alice in Chains would split their vocals out, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it makes sense now." And next thing you know, they were singing like pro. They just sit and practice it and then they just applied it to our stuff.
Nice, and that's actually a particularly apt choice because they were doing a lot of chromatic harmony and things like that. A little more difficult stuff than other bands were doing at the time.
Yeah, instead of just growling their way through it, they were actually making things sound pretty nice. Right,
that's cool. That's great. And that's an amazing feat to learn guitar in 3 months, at least enough to get on stage for the first time. That's sort of actually how I became a singer. I was already a guitarist, but I learned how to sing in about 3 months because there was a gig, and that gig had to be done. I learned how to sing in 3 months and then went and recorded an album, which was even scarier. But
wow.
You guys are doing a very traditional style of sea shanty kind of pirate music. Where is the challenge in that type of music for you? What do you find challenging about it?
For us, it always comes down to the same question. What can we do to make it different than what everybody else is doing? And the most commonly, the answer is, what type of a joke can we throw in the middle of it? Because we are very much comedy based. I mean, we will do the occasional serious song because people like it.
Uh-huh.
But in general, if you go and watch any of our shows, whether it be a 30-minute show or a 2-hour show, 80% of it is going to be us doing some kind of a jokey song or another.
Nice.
And so we tend to change the lyrics to old shanties, which, is what you did with old shanties anyway.
Uh-huh.
We will change the lyrics and make them as goofy as possible. And then, our humor has been refined a little bit too. It used to be broad. It's like, oh, how many cabin boy jokes or pirate raping jokes can we throw in the middle of all this? And, we've gotten a little more enlightened as a society to where you can't really just go out there and say, well, I got 5 rape jokes I'm going to throw out there in the middle of this set. It's like, nah, you can't really pull that off anymore. So,
right.
Mellow it down a bit. Let's figure out a way of making it funny, but self-depreciatingly funny without, we're very good at being self-depreciating, but make it funny about yourself, make it funny for everybody, and not just those 1 or 2, chest-thumping dudes out there that really are into the pirate stuff.
Right, yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, I think comedy, when you're first learning how to do it, is always follows that type of path where your first joke is going to be a joke about genitals, and then you have to move on from there. And
first the big, then the fart joke, and then move on to the funny stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. I've sat through an ungodly amount of comedy open mics, and it's usually 3 hours of that. And then, and I went through the same thing where I had to go, okay, I've done that. Now I need to, talk about something that people actually want to listen to, and that I could actually get paid for saying.
And refining your stuff in general is what is a path you got to take. If you're not refining it at all, then you're basically just a stagnant band, and you might as well just give it up. I mean, even in the business side of it, like when we first started, we did like I said, there was a band called the Corsairs that was local, and then there's another band in Kansas City called the Jolly Rogers that have been around since dirt.
Uh-huh.
And we there was a couple of songs that people would do, or that they both did, and they had these certain bits that went along with it. So we're like, oh, well, that's how you do it. So we got up on stage and we do those bits.
Uh-huh.
And the Jolly Rogers called us on it. They were like, yeah, you guys are doing our bits. We're like, well, I thought everybody does that because they were doing it. The Corsairs were doing it. Like, oh, no, the Corsairs stole from us too. So we've got none of them. I'm like, oh, well, hell. So we had to figure out after a while, okay, now we know, stop doing what everybody else is doing just because you think that's how it's done. It's time to do your own thing.
Yeah, and that's one of those other pitfalls that comes up with a lot of performers is I've seen guys go on stage and tell Seinfeld jokes, and it's like, oh, you can't do that. That's not okay. But, I mean, it's a big change from, say, the vaudeville days where that was a totally acceptable part of the act was stealing somebody else's material because nobody knew.
Do it better.
Yeah, nobody knew who invented anything back then, but the intellectual property rights are a whole different game now. That's interesting. And so when you guys are putting together a new song where you're maybe changing the lyrics to an old shanty or something like that, how much evolution does that song go through after you've taken it out on stage a few times? Is there a lot of changes that happen?
We've made a decision now that we won't put anything on an album unless we're trying to be specifically trying to surprise our audience. We won't put anything out on an album unless we've got a good 6 months of us bashing it on stage a little bit, because you're going to figure out what doesn't work
right
pretty quickly when the audience just stares at you glassy eyed, like, yeah, you don't have enough energy in that, or maybe we should change this up to where the song, a lot of these old shanties, the verse and the chorus all have the same melody.
Right.
So it would sound monotonous after a while. So we change the chorus around to give it a little more life, switch it from a minor to a major or somewhere along those lines to give it to, all of a sudden people perk up for that and then drop back down to the minor for the verse.
Uh-huh.
Or, just have the vocal melody stay at the same melody and then have the guitar go up a step or something like that, just to give it a different vibe.
Sure. Yeah. And you guys do a lot of outdoor gigs, which translating comedy outdoors is always a very tricky thing. I hate doing outdoor gigs. And how much of the reaction are you generally able to see when the jokes pop up?
Immediately. We're such, audience energy whores when it comes down to doing our show. If they're not into it, we're going to put out the flattest, most boring show in the world, because we can get up there and we don't really do a bunch of rehearsed bits. When you come and see our show, you're not going to see the same show from one to the other. We tend to make up a lot of stuff on the fly.
Uh-huh.
And if there's no energy and they're not laughing at our stuff, all of a sudden that the desire to make up a joke disappears pretty quickly because you obviously know that they don't give a rip. Right. So you're not really be busting your butt to try to put together an awesome joke. But we know that if you're going into a show where it's hot outside and the audience is miserable, you've got to do the biggest, broadest, funniest possible stuff you have. Even if they've seen it before, you've got to try to keep them engaged. You can't pull off that, 6-minute ballad in the middle of it. They're going to get up and leave, the first 2 minutes into it. And then you realize, oh, hell, I just lost their entire audience. So you got to pick and choose your songs accordingly. We know going into, if you're doing a bar gig, on the other hand, you got to save the drunk sing-along songs toward the end. Do the funny stuff at the beginning when they're still sober enough to pay attention to your jokes, and then toward the end, you just almost give up on the jokes and you just start, doing whatever they can just, warble along with.
Right. I don't think I've ever seen, outside of O'Craven, on the West Coast here, I don't think I've ever seen a pirate band playing in a bar. Is that something that happens more commonly in Texas, Louisiana, at that area?
It used to happen a lot when we first started, and then all of these Celtic/Irish bars just started disappearing like crazy. They just dropped right off. Dallas-Fort Worth used to be a massive hub for Celtic music. And a lot of these traveling bands, the Seven Nations and Blarney Brothers and whatnot, would all cruise around, Great Big Sea. They'd all come into the town and stop at these big bars, and they'd draw on this, huge crowd full of people. And then they all started fading away. And I talked to various bar owners as it was happening, and they were all telling me the same story. It's like these they consider them to be quote unquote Ren Fair bands.
Uh-huh.
And the Ren Fair audience that wants to come watch them tend to be poor or cheap, depending on how you look at it. So they'll walk in and nurse a cup of coffee all night. They'll stop at McDonald's on the way in and fill up and then sit down and nurse a cup of coffee all night, or just get a couple of beers, versus showing up and supporting the venue that hired you to come down there and perform at it.
Right.
There was a bar down here called I think we were one of the last bands to perform at 2 or 3 bars down here in Dallas-Fort Worth. It's like they just disappeared quickly thereafter. We were like, don't hire us because your bar's going to close. But there was one called the Tipperary Inn that was a great place. And it reopened up and became a lot smaller venue when it comes down to large bands and whatnot. But we started encouraging, we told all of our fans on our mailing list and all that stuff to be sure and show up. And don't get anything to eat on the way there. Show up and buy from the bar, buy your drinks from the bar, buy your food from the bar. And we'd check with the bar at the end of the night and see how they did. And they'd be like, yeah, we did better than we do when most big name bands come through, because we're encouraging our people specifically to support that venue.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And they still won't disappear anyway.
Yeah. Well, I don't think people realize that that's where the venue really makes their money, is on the food and drink. I think they think the ones, I paid my $10 to get in, and now I'm on my own. I don't think they realize that most of that money goes to the performers.
And most of the places we play now, they usually will pay us a flat fee for showing up.
Uh-huh.
And we make whatever we get off of merchandise, or if they'll allow tips, depending on what's going down.
Sure.
I don't usually like to ask for tips at a bar, but every now and then it'll happen. And then they keep whatever they make, obviously, off of whatever people buy from the bar.
Uh-huh.
There's a bar we've been performing at a lot recently that has been a great place to play. It's small, but it's awesome. It's called the Buccaneer Bar, and it's hosted by the Raylene Distillery, which is a rum distiller in South Texas, or around the Houston area.
Uh-huh.
It's right on the bay. I mean, it's like you can see the water from where it's at, and they can't sell anything but their own booze there, because of the Texas alcohol laws and whatnot. Say they can't carry Budweiser or something in there. They can't sell beer. All they sell is their own booze and their own mixed drinks. But they make a killing because we bring in the boozy crowd, and they have their own boozy crowd that shows up on various weekends, especially if somebody odd like us is coming in. They want to come check it out, and then they just make big lines and get mixed drinks all night long.
Nice. So what's coming up for you guys in the next few months? This show will probably go out mid to late August or so.
When September, we're going to be at the Texarkana Ren Fair. We'll be performing there officially for the first time. We did like a crash there last year just to kind of check it out and also check out some of the other bands that we were thinking about inviting in for a concert that we do in the winter.
Uh-huh.
And then we're going to do the Texas Renaissance Festival's Pirate Weekend. We'll go down there and visit. We used to do that fair every weekend, but the grind of doing 8 weekends of driving down to Houston from Dallas-Fort Worth every weekend was just crushing us, and we weren't on a large enough stage to make it worth our while.
Uh-huh.
So we told ourselves we'd give it 3 years to do it, and then we talked to the entertainment director, and he was like, well, it's kind of a seniority thing. Nobody else has really dropped off the bigger stages to let you go in. We're like, well, that's fair enough, but we're out.
Yeah.
So we're going back and doing that again. And then Dickens on the Strand, which is in Galveston. It's a Victorian-based Christmas festival.
Uh-huh.
We tend to do really well at that because we have an entire album of nothing but pirate Christmas carols.
Nice. So
half of our show is our normal stuff, and half of it tends to be Christmas-based, and everybody really digs it. And then our big show we do is recently is what we call Pirates on the Prairie, which is a local show here in Grand Prairie, not too far from where I live.
Uh-huh.
And it is it's been the 7th or the 6th incarnation of Pirates on the Prairie, and we tend to invite different bands in to come out and perform with us instead of it just being the same thing. We're exposing the local people to some different people, some different talent. And then also trying to build up our local fan base a little bit more, because it'd be nicer to not have to travel to southern Louisiana to get in front of an audience. It'd be better to just travel 10 minutes away.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So people can find out more about you guys at thebilgepumps.com, correct?
Correct.
Great, and I saw you got tons of music and CDs and things for sale there, and everybody should go buy that stuff because it's lots of fun. And, well, great, this has been super fun. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that I missed that you want people to know about?
Nope, I think we got it.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad we got a chance to talk. This was a fun time.
Thank you, man.
You bet. I'll talk to you again soon. There it is, friends. That is my interview with Craig Lutke of the Bilge Pumps. Awesome band. You can check them out at thebilgepumps.com. And, so I keep telling you guys about LifeLock, right? And if you haven't gotten a LifeLock account, you want to get one soon. You can get it 10% off. All you do is go to underthecrossbones.com/LifeLock. Click the Start Your Membership button. You'll get 10% off. If you don't know what LifeLock is, they go into the deep, ugly parts of the internet, and they make sure that your personal information isn't out there for the identity thieves to steal. And if they do find it, they will alert you and they will help you fix it. That's the cool part. That's the part that your credit card monitoring thing doesn't do. The free one that comes with it, they don't help you fix it. LifeLock will help you fix it if something goes awry. And I got a notice from LifeLock yesterday that my and this is a good one, my MySpace password had potentially been hacked. And my first thought was, I'm glad somebody knows what it is, because I have no idea. How long has it been since anybody went to MySpace? I don't even know. But anyway, I went to MySpace. My login didn't even work, and the one that I had noted down, and so I reset my password. Anyway, but had I not had LifeLock, I would not have totally known that at all. Like, somebody could have hacked the crap out of my MySpace, and I would not know it. LifeLock will alert you to those things. So if you want to get that, again, go to underthecrossbones.com/LifeLock, click the Start Your Membership button, and you will get 10% off. I've got an ebook for you. It's Alexander Exquemelin's Buccaneers of America, Pirates of Panama Bay, whichever title you prefer. If you've never read it, it's fantastic. It is a seminal piece of pirate writing from the golden age of piracy, period piece. Wonderful stuff. And I've got a free version of it for you. Just go to underthecrossbones.com. Click the free ebook button, and you can get it hooked up. If you're out and about and you're not into typey and all that, right? Just take your phone and text the word pirate and your email address to 94253. Text the word pirate and your email address to 94253, and it'll kick you back a link to download the book, and it will be all fancy and good for you, and you can read it right there on your phone. It's fantastic. All right, so we got comedy and music today, of course. We're going to hear some comedy from a new friend of mine, Travis Nelson, out of Seattle. Very, very funny. You're going to dig this stuff. And then, of course, we're going to hear some music from the Bilge Pumps. And Craig sent me some songs, and he sent me like 4 songs, and I was like, I'm going to play 2. Normally we hear 1 song, right? I'm going to play 2 songs today. We're going to hear Pirating the Seas, and then we're going to hear The Dark Lady from the Bilge Pumps. Why? Because it's my show, and I feel like playing 2 songs. All right? So here we go. Comedy from Travis Nelson, and then some music from the Bilge Pumps. Enjoy.
I don't know if you guys have picked up on this. I'm a tall guy. A tall fella. I'm 6'9" tall. So I know you were wondering, yeah. And you know what they say about tall guys? Yeah, statistically speaking, we don't live as long. So there you go, ladies. You're looking for a little less commitment, maybe date a tall guy. It's like getting a hamster instead of a dog, you know? You guys know what the number 1 cause of death for tall men is? Heart failure, actually, because our hearts apparently just can't keep up with all the extra sex we're having. Second one's not funny. The second most common actually is cancer, which just makes sense. We're larger, there's more of us, so there's a statistically higher chance that we'll get cancer. Third highest reason, also not funny, that one is ceiling fans, okay? That's a big That's messy, you gotta get a mop out, okay? Like being tall. My mom's always, I don't play basketball, and yeah, my parents are pretty bummed out about that. Mom's always bugging me. She just called me the other day. She's like, hey, so what's your backup plan? What are you going to do if stand-up doesn't work out? Are you kidding me? I'll just get a job at Costco reaching things. Got this under control. I feel like I can't complain. I try not to complain because, I'm a tall white man born in the United States of America. I got it pretty good. There's just hardships that I'll never be able to understand, you know? Like, I'll never know what it's like to be a sweatshop worker. And I've walked a lot of miles in their shoes. My friends have been going out to, they all started going out to a bunch of dance clubs recently. They're really loving the dance clubs, which just don't work for me, okay? I get it. I get why people love dance clubs, because you can go and lose yourself amongst the people and the music, and it doesn't matter. But while you're doing that, I'm 2 feet above everything, just staring at the bartender across the room, making eye contact and dancing like, how's this look, buddy? Super weird? Cool, I'll stop. Too big for them. The speakers are always right by my head, so every song just sounds like tinnitus, you know? I'm on the dance floor too long, some girls start grinding on my kneecap, like, That's sweet of you, but now I gotta walk with the limp, you know?
Me dad said I was evil when my youth had come to pass. I had the disposition of a shark with painful gas. My mother told me piracy is what you'll need to pass. So I told me mother thanks and I kicked me father's well. It's a short, hard life when you do what we do, grabbing silver and gold and a little booty too. And how do you survive when you sail the ocean blue? Me mother said, please be sure and eat your peas to avoid the scurvies when you're pirating the seas. A pirate lives for killing, for blood and guts and gore. Though when the day is over, you still need something more. But women were scarce when you signed to come aboard, so you grab the cabin boy and you treat him like a well. It's a short, hard life when you do what we do, grabbing silver and gold and a little booty too. And how do you survive when you sail the ocean blue? A cabin boy on his knees, he does what we please, and he loves to appease when he's pirating the seas. It's tough when your captain is damned insane. He once steered our ship into a huge hurricane. He ran up aloft to survey his domain. We felt a warm yellow rain when he drained his main. Well, it's a short, hard life when you do what we do, grabbing silver and gold and a little booty too. And how do you survive when you sail the ocean blue? The captain said freeze, pulled his pants to his knees, 'cause he likes to feel the breeze when he's pirating the seas. We ran across a merchantman and blew their mast apart. They wouldn't give up, our gunner took it to heart. He made a foul breeze, not on the weather chart. They surrendered like France when he cut a smelly well. It's a short, hard life when you do what we do, grabbing silver and gold and a little booty too. And how do you survive when you sail the ocean blue? We ignored their pleas and stole their currencies, and it stank like cheese when you're pirating the seas. We sailed around Cape Horn where it's windy and cold. To stay warm we gathered into a huddled mold. Someone must have left his pants down in the hold, 'cause I wasn't asked a question, but I certainly was polled.
Thank you, old man.
Well, it's a short, hard life when you do what we do, grabbing silver and gold and a little booty too. And how do you survive when you sail the ocean blue? A cold makes you sneeze, sometimes you just freeze. Frost bites your pee-pees when you're pirating the seas. Well, it's a short, hard life when you do what we do, grabbing silver and gold and a little booty too. And how do you survive when you sail the ocean blue? We're the worst enemies, we do what we please, and everybody flees when we're pirating the seas. This one-eyed man named Baron LeBon, being a pirate had never been known, and he sailed on the Dark Lady. The ship strong and sound with a perilous crew, high on the mast the skull and the bones flew. Fleet and swift was the Dark Lady. Every night the Baron would drink a toast and say here's to our lovely lady host. I want true love, hear, hear the crew reply, and the Dark Lady sighed. A rich Spanish galleon was spotted one night. The Dark Lady's crew prepared for the fight. Flash of swords, no Spaniard survived, except for the maiden with dark eyes of old, found in the hull with the jewels and the gold. LeBon laughed, and he took her for ransom. And every night the Baron would drink a toast and say here's to our lovely lady host. I want true love, hear, hear the crew reply, and the Dark Lady sighed. The girl Carlotta was a beauty quite rare. Each passing night LeBon couldn't bear his empty bed. He brought her to it. The Baron soon found he felt more than desire. His love for her grew and his heart filled with fire. He proclaimed that they would marry. At night the Baron drank with jubilee and said here's to my lovely bride to be. I want true love, hear, hear the crew reply, and the Dark Lady cried. a storm brewed at sea. Dark lady saw her chance to be free of her anchor, the beauty Carlotta. Ship steered us out to the heart of the gale, where a wave swept the maiden out over the rails. Sweet revenge on an unfaithful lover. That night the lady drank a toast and said, "Here's to your lovely lady host, your one true love." No voices replied, and the dark lady smiled. Now every night when a storm fills the sky, they say that a ghost ship sails in its high fleet, and swift is the dark lady. The ship's strong and sound with a perilous crew. High on the mast the skull and the bones flew, and her captain gazes out to sea. And every night the Baron must drink a toast and say his to our lovely lady host. My one true love, here the ghost crew replies, and the dark lady smiles.
And that's our show for today, friends. Thank you once again for tuning in. You can catch all the show notes, pictures, links, videos, all that kind of good stuff from my guests today at underthecrossbones.com/053. Definitely want to come by the show notes because I oftentimes put a lot of stuff in there that doesn't get into the podcast, like visual things like pictures and videos, right? That would be useless on a podcast. But anyway, come on by, check it out. If you want to find out more about the Bilge Pumps, go to thebilgepumps.com. If you want to find out more from our comedian, Travis Nelson, go to travisnelsoncomedy.com. You can also find him on Twitter and Instagram at Travis is Joking. So check him out. I know you like that stuff. And yeah, I'm going to go pack now because lots of gigs this week. And again, you can find my comedy specials on Amazon. Watch them for free if you're a Prime member. All that good stuff. If you're in any of the areas of my shows this week, I hope you come on out. If you're in LA, come to the Burbank Comedy Festival. It's going to be lots of fun. And that's it. I'll catch you next week. Thanks.